So how is growing up in Vietnam different than what we would see growing up in the US?
Growing up in Vietnam, you know that Vietnam is a communist community country now, right? So not everything kind of like at my time, kind of like really they control everything. So they hiding something, they control a lot of things. So we don't know a lot, not a broad open here. And kind of like it's that time still kind of like persecution in the Catholic faith. And I know that I remember one year that we have like Christmas mass at night, Christmas Eve mass, and they just come in and they said, no, you cannot have it. So our parents cannot have it. So it's still persecution. And now it's kind of open because we have more another country come in for economy or for whatever, for job opening. But at that time, it's really strict. So kind of like not open. But when I came here, and because you live in a strict country, and open here is so freedom, and I feel kind of so much freedom. I mean, too much because everything you can say everything, you can say anything, and I mean everything. But then open my mind to understand that even though in a freedom, but you have rule. So even though you can say anything, but you can get in trouble too. So kind of like I like it here because sometimes I don't know now because in the religious life we don't expose so much out there in the world to understand more, but work with the youth so I understand a little bit more into that. But at first, yeah, really too much freedom here. But then when we grow into this one adapted with the culture and society, so kind of is good. Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that the Catholicism is persecuted, like it's held to a minimum
Mm-hmm.
in Vietnam. But you were explaining how you'd be going to mass every morning, you'd have the rosary every evening, and you had a very strong Catholic
Mm-hmm.
community, it seems like, within Vietnam. Um, what was that like? And like, how do you think because of the persecution and because it's kind of held at an arm's length by the government that you had a thriving Catholic community, or how is there that you grew up in a thriving Catholic community in a country that doesn't want Catholics to be there?
In Vietnam, most of the community, the Catholic community, will live together as a village. So if you go to some, they call it the parish, they just like the church in the middle. Now, like because we live in a country, so the church right in the middle, and everyone should live around that within walking distance. So and everyone neutral, everyone faith and we had mass about like 4 o'clock in the morning before everything going on there and so we because with all that we all together in the same parish in the same village. So I think that persecution is a big thing, but just going to mass and go to pray just in the little village and it's not that bad. But sometimes they can they we call it the police, but over there they kind of like yeah the police they can come into the church, they just walk around and see what you're doing. And I remember that one time we are in the choir practice at night time, and then we had to turn off the light and go home quietly because they just roaming around the church, so we cannot do it. So we don't know. So our he's a seminarian, and he said that okay, now everyone quietly go home because it's we cannot do anything tonight. So I don't know if we do something we may get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So that kind of persecution, but then we do kind of not in the hidden way, but not really exposing way too.
Did that ever shake your faith at all, having the government against you, or did it make you feel strong because you felt supported by your community?
I think we had more stronger faith through that persecution, like help us to live because I mean you had nothing to hold on, only your faith with God, right? Because like I mean out there we live in poor country and farmer is that in Vietnam is really poor. So the only thing we can hope is in God. So holding our faith and go to church and praying that help us to live stronger. Mhm. And our faith growing strong through that persecution.
So I have heard of Our Lady of La Vang, but I don't really know much about her, and the story with her apparition in Vietnam. Has that apparition had it impacted your community or your life personally, or could you tell us a little bit more about what you know about her?
Actually, the Our Lady of La Vang is in the north and we in the south. But we heard about that. But the Our Lady of La Vang appearing to the Vietnamese people during persecution is long, about 200 years before our time. So that time persecution from all that like dynastic, all that king, that time persecution through missionary from the other country to Vietnam. And people just led through to that, to the mountain and to hiding before the persecution, for that persecution. And then Our Lady appeared to her, to them, not to her. She appeared to people led into the mountain and to console them and helping them strengthen their faith and heal them people because you know what, when they go into the mountain living that kind of like life, they get kind of like sickness, everything, malaria. So Our Lady appear and tell them to take the leaves from the tree that she appeared, she standing, and cook as a tea and drink it and heal. So all that, because so that why we have the Vietnamese people, we have strong devotion to our Blessed Mother. We say Rosary every day, and because from our ancestors passed through that to us, and we not because like Our Lady more than more than Jesus, but because through her we come to Jesus. And the Vietnamese people, through that persecution and the strong faith with our Blessed Mother, so from her that we come to Jesus. So we have a really strong devotion to our Blessed Mother.
Would you say that Our Lady of La Vang, she kind of had an influence on Catholicism in Vietnam the way maybe Our Lady of Guadalupe had an influence on
Yes.
Catholicism in Mexico?
Yes. The same. It's the same. Yeah.
Have you been able to go back there and visit the shrine of Our Lady of La Vang?
Yes, we did. My family, actually, my brothers, my parents, and my son, not my, the other sister, not. But we went there, I think, 2013. We went there. We went back to Vietnam, and then we went to Our Lady of La Vang, and we visited the shrine. It's beautiful. I'm excited. Every years now, people in the country they gather. Most people in the north, they gather in I think Our Lady of La Vang feast day. I don't know what day is it, but like November. I don't know. This year, or I think August something. August 15, I think about like 50,000 people gather there. They have procession for learning, like kind of like pilgrimage, holy year. It's a and jubilee year, so they gather there and all that for pilgrimage to Our Lady of La Vang. And every year they have like some kind of pilgrimage to go to that shrine and to visit, to pray, ask petition, whatever. So a lot of people travel to that shrine. And throughout Vietnam, we had many shrines. In the north, we have Our Lady of La Vang. I live in Phan Thiet in Vietnam, in the south. So we have Our Lady of La Vang. So the same thing every month. People just pilgrimage to there. The whole many people go there for pray and pilgrimage to that.
How did Catholicism reach Vietnam? When did it first get introduced?
Oh, I think 1700 that the parish missionary and Jesuits, Dominican, all the from parish from England, they came to Vietnam to missionary in Vietnam, and that they brought the Catholic faith into Vietnamese people, and that time persecution because the Vietnamese dynasty, the all the king that time, so that at first accepted because they bring it like even the country, the other country, foreign country, they bring their like merchandise, money to that exchanging and accept it. But then, so our missionaries go through that too and bring faith to the Vietnamese people through that. And I think since 1700, and for 200 years, that the persecution spread through Vietnamese people. And then you know that we have 117 martyr, Vietnamese martyr. We call Vietnamese, but not all Vietnamese, because there are some like bishop, priest, or missionary from the other country die through that faith in Vietnam persecution.
Did Catholicism, even though it met persecution right away when it reached Vietnam, did it spread quickly? Because if it's only a couple hundred years old in Vietnam, how did it spread? Because I know there's a very large Catholic population in Vietnam, and a lot of Vietnamese people that are in the United States are Catholic. And so how did that spread so quickly?
Do you know the Vietnam the country is not big, right? That's the only, they call it an S. So they reached to the north first, and then, so what can I say this? So, and then the missionary from the established community in the North Vietnam, and so the spread too, because like the same thing too, like persecution. When the persecution, people hiding, going somewhere else, and then it spread anew, like the first like in the Acts of the Apostle. So go from the north to the south, so spread out, and so the faith just spread through from the north to the south. And when we call the Bishop Alessandro, that he the one have his give the Vietnamese, he translated the Vietnamese language from some kind of like, I don't know, they call it a character, and to the letter that we have ABC now, that he had a big job into that. So we could then translate the Bible to the Vietnamese language through that, so people can understand more, and then it spread. And I think our ancestors accept the faith, and when we had a faith, and through persecution, that and people keep strong faith and just spread. So through that thing, I think because people just run from place to place to hiding and get through that. The whole country is not the whole country is a Catholic, but I think every part of the country there's a Catholic. There's a Catholic church in that.
What's the main religion besides Catholicism in Vietnam, and is it the same that when the Catholic missionaries first came to Vietnam, were they meeting against a different religion? And is that religion still around today?
Yes, the Buddhist is the biggest. This is the main religion in Vietnam. That's the big one. So they have like they call it the Buddhist, and then I don't remember. I don't know what the other call in different language, but they have something like they not worship, but they honor their parents and just I don't know what do they call that, but there's another. But the Buddhist is the biggest one. So when the missionary came to that, and when they spread through, they preach the gospel, the thing. So against that, that's why the persecution come, because like you preach something new, and then against that, the way they have been doing, they worship, and the teaching of the Catholicism is about like we worship only God, and we cannot bow down to anyone else beside God, right? So different from that. So the Vietnamese really highly into respect our parents. So because if you not, they not worship the parent, but if you not put your parent higher, your ancestor higher, and you put God higher than your parent, there's something wrong about this religion. So that is a conflict, and the persecution started. But and then later on they explain and it accepted. So the one who follow accept all that kind of thing. And it's very hard at first.
And also, the blood of the martyrs is the seed
Yeah,
of
the
the
seed of the
church.
church. Uh-huh.
And so, I guess seeing people dying for the faith also inspired other people to think, well, if they're willing to die for it, then it must be true.
And then we have 117 saints, martyr, but because we don't have enough money, but there's a many more into that persecution and be martyr. But if we can have a money to open more cases, I think that's a lot. But that, I think 1988, that Pope John Paul II canonized that 117 martyr, the Vietnamese martyr. We're so proud of that.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, please be sure to head over to our channel for the full interview. Planet Cross exists to bring you stories like this. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and head over to our website, planetcross.com, for more life-changing stories.